Awesome. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, on my personal Facebook, on ministry Facebook, YouTube, all that different kind of stuff. And I'm super excited about tonight because we are starting a brand new podcast, a brand new conversation, a brand new dialogue called For Sons Only. So that's what you see as you all are coming on in. Do me a favor, go ahead and share this. It is going to be a phenomenal conversation tonight. If you consider yourself a son, if you don't even know what that is, just come on in. If you believe in accountability, if you believe in submission, if you believe in development, if you believe in training, if you want to if you believe in connection, impartation, these types of conversations are going to be phenomenal. And I'm just going to set the stage. They're coming on in. I'm just going to set the stage, but then I'm going to turn it over to a crew that's going to take it further. What it do? As a matter of fact, what's up? Y'all got to make sure y'all be engaging too.
Not me pulling the volume in up.
Y'all got to make sure y'all be engaging on the internet. What is today?
Wednesday? Yes, we saw it. We saw it.
Wednesday. It's 10 p.m. I like the time, maybe 9, something like that. People are coming on in. I'm trying to figure out where we think people are and stuff like that. Like, what are people doing on a Wednesday night? Is it basketball games? Is it football games? What's going on? So, what it do, people? My name is Brian Meadows, and you guys are probably not going to see me a lot. This is probably going to be one of a few episodes that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to turn it over to the sons. This was not even my idea, as a matter of fact. So I don't even want to, claim that this is my idea or anything like that. But some of our sons, some of those that serve, those that are committed to us, they came together and they started to say, it would be awesome for us to give people an inside look. It would be awesome for us to delve into what serving is like. What is sonship like? How do you minister to your pastor? How do you minister to your spiritual father when they're dealing with depression, dealing with insecurity, dealing with illness, dealing with frustration? How do you do that? And there's a lot of people that are watching us that either serve in ministry, serve leaders on leadership teams, or you're fortunate enough to even serve your pastor, have close proximity to your pastor. And we want to talk a little bit about how do you do that? What are the ins and outs of that? And so we got a couch, and this couch will change. Different people will be on the couch. Different people will be in the hot seat. But we got on the couch, we got Jeff and we got Lance, and they are what I call newbies. All right. They are newbies. And I'm saying it with respect. All right. They are newbies. Jeff has been serving me probably for a year or so now, almost a year or so now, probably a little bit more than a year or so now. So yeah, a year plus, because you were serving me for a few months before we got into this building. We've been in this building for a year. So he's had the opportunity to travel with me. He's had the opportunity to do ministry with me in different parts of the states. And Lance is a real newbie. Lance just got saved a couple months ago. Lance just met Jesus, man, for real. A couple months ago. No, but Lance has been in the church. I think he's been saved, but Lance just started serving us. Probably when, Lance? When you start serving us?
I would say around like March of this year.
So he started serving in March of this year. And what has been, when we say serve, for a lot of people that may be watching that don't know what serving a pastor looks like, what being a son, and that's what we want to define in this particular episode. Like, what is a son? When we say for sons only, what do we mean? What are some of the things that you've been doing? What are some of the things that you do on a daily basis or on a weekly basis in your efforts to serve your pastor?
When I first started, I was just talking to Jeff about this. When I first started, I used to guard the door, so like the office door. It started off as me like basically delegating traffic to different areas when people needed it. Had meetings with you. I would tell them like, give them a second, let them get dressed, things of that nature. And then from there, it went into coming into the office.
Because I ain't let you in the office at first.
Yeah, nah.
But
it's supposed to be that way, honestly.
100%.
It's definitely supposed to be that way. It's levels to it. And I learned that, you know, there's levels to serving and things of that nature. So when I finally got into the office, it started with just helping around, picking things up, ironing clothes, things of that nature, and then started becoming your barber, like cutting your hair before Sunday
All right,
services.
calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down now. Calm
I
down.
knew he was gonna
All
say
right,
that. I knew
calm
he was gonna
down
say
now. Calm down now. Okay. Becoming my barber.
Well, yeah, like helping,
That
well,
is
helping,
amazing.
being
Okay.
assisting your, you know.
barber assistant. Can you be a barber assistant?
You can
I'm
definitely
sure.
be a barber assistant.
Yeah.
We working him up to that point.
But like in Atlanta, I always tell people like you have to have 2 barbers because like
Do you?
your man.
I wish they would have saw that. I wish somebody saw that. Did they see that? Did they see that? That is amazing. That is actually the most amazing thing that's happened all day. All day long.
That was like the smell
That
of
was great.
Okay, first of all, put a camera on me.
Like,
So Jeff, one of the things now, because this is Sunship,
yeah, absolutely.
right? No, this is Sunship because one of the things I told Jeff, I said, Jeff, when you get married, you're gonna be an excellent husband because Jeff is one of the most attentive people that I know. Whenever Jeff is out, he always think about me, and I really appreciate that because as a pastor, so many people are always on your mind, but there's always this hunting feeling that you're never on anybody else's mind. And if you are, you know, what are they going to do to kind of minister to you or whatever the case may be? So a son letting a father know, hey, I'm thinking of you, not just in word, but, you know, in behavior, in action, it does a lot to give us strength and to let us know that not only are we fathering the right people, but we're needed, right? And we're necessary. And so he's always out and he get me stuff. So today he was out and he got me this cherry limeade.
Well, we have to explain where we were at.
Why?
Because like that's like I wouldn't have just got it if it was like I was somewhere else.
I mean, if you was at a health food store or something like that, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, but he was at some place that sell healthy juice, right? And he told me about it. The thing that I'm so because it's not bad. I know this is not the flavor. That's why when I looked at it, I was like, this ain't what I saw earlier. But it's still good. It's still natural. I just was a bit exaggeratory, but he hyped this thing up so crazy. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't that flavor. Why you didn't give me the flavor you had?
Because they ran out. So I went back, right? I went back to grab. It's because of that flavor I had is called the Dooley juice. But I immediately knew if I bring that same face you just made just now, that same face right there. If I would have
that's wild, bro. Why you drinking the Dooley juice?
Because it had yerba mate. It had yerba mate. It had like a citrus lemonade in there. And it was like some like blueberries and stuff like that. It was really good. But I was like, man, like the guys got a company, they in Atlanta. But
I'm definitely gonna taste it. I'm gonna drink some more of it. It does taste natural. I ain't tasting any pulp. But Lance is a newbie. If y'all just now joining us, I want to welcome you guys to something that we're calling For Sons Only. Now, again, this is the first episode. It's the inaugural episode. We're just going to talk a little bit about what sons are, why sons are important, and what sons do. When we talk about sonship, let's get biblical just for a second. We have this conversation. When we talk about sonship or sons, there is a scripture that says, and the Lord will pour out his spirit upon the sons and the daughters, and they shall prophesy, they shall see visions and so forth and so on. It actually says he will pour out his spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. When we talk about sonship, the word son in the Greek is the word weos, and it literally means a mature representation or a mature representative of the father. And it comes back from Greco-Roman times. When a young boy was growing, every father had a insignia or a ring. And as the son was growing, there came a point where the father would send the son out to do official business. Maybe the father was busy, maybe the father had other responsibilities, but the son got to a place of knowledge, got to a place of communication, and got to a place of maturity where the son could now represent the father. And guess what the father would do? In Greco-Roman times, the father would take off his insignia or take off his ring and give it to the son. So when the son went out, the son could start to make transactions on behalf of the father. And so when we talk about a son, we're talking about, number one, somebody that has committed to their life to the Lord Jesus Christ. They are first a son of God. It is impossible to be a son of the house, a son of a church, or a son of ministry without being a son of God. And as a matter of fact, I've had people come up to me and say, hey, I think you're my spiritual father. And they just got saved. I say, I think you need to go follow God a little bit more. Because sometimes even fathering in the infancy of a person's salvation creates unhealthy an unhealthy relationship, you know what I mean, an unhealthy pressure or responsibility on that pastor, sometimes even idolatry. And so in those senses, or in those cases, the father's job is to then lead them back to follow God, because if you can't follow God, how are you then going to follow a pastor or follow a leader? And so that's what we talk about when we talk about a son. How did y'all know that you were, and again, we're talking about not just a son of God, but how did y'all feel like you had some type of connection with me? Or how did you feel like you felt like you were called to me? How was that journey like?
I'll definitely go. We was talking about it earlier. So for me, I moved 2022, the end of July, and I found out about you literally 30 days before I moved. Somebody who was at my parents' church, because I kind of got like a different vantage point because my dad's a pastor, like both of my parents are. So I grew up in it, like, being a kid and being like, hey, like, all right, we got to go to this church today. So it's kind of like something that was embedded in me. I just didn't know what was happening. But I found out about you, I would say June 2022. And because somebody who goes to my parents' church is like, hey, I know you about to move. And when you get a chance, like when you go down there, you should check out Apostle Brian Meadows. And I lie to you not. Like when he said your name, like something in my spirit pulled. And I was like, all right, that's pretty weird. That don't ever really happen to me. That's definitely crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. But to the pure all things.
I got you.
So I ended up, we were just talking about it, the process of faith and the faces of favor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I got onto your app and I just started studying and listening. And I was like, okay, like that's the language I want to speak. And that's the language like that I feel like I was wired for. And when I got down here initially, my mindset was, all right, I'm gonna just go to church. I'm gonna be a student of the word, and I'm gonna just go and handle my handle. But I also think that when it comes to sonship, like we was talking about it earlier, like no, not even in the natural, you don't ever choose who your father is. Like that's not a choice that you get to make. Like no son comes out the womb. It's like, I want this person to be my dad. It's like, nah. So for me, I came Wednesday night, and I knew it was legit because Pastor Stephanie was killing. Right? She came and she was killing an Apostle by after that. And then the third week I was going to walk out, but the Holy Spirit told me to turn around and like just go shake your hand, introduce myself. I did, and then I think like a month later we had ended up going to breakfast, and the Holy Spirit had already been dealing with me, like about like submitting to you. And then we went to, I think you had to preach at Grace Midtown, like a Saturday joint.
I remember.
And I went with you. And then while I was serving, the Holy Spirit was like you need to submit today. Like you need to have that conversation. So for me, it wasn't a joint where it's like, oh, like I want to be like in the in crowd, because I also know like what that comes with, it is a lot of responsibility, and I don't run from responsibility. But you always want to make sure that when you're in this position, that you're doing it with sincerity, and that like your intention is not weird. And I 100%. Think that a lot of people, when they get like, close to any leader, not just a pastor, right? Because being a spiritual son is not just like, you could be a spiritual son to a basketball coach and not know. Like there's so many different avenues of who's having like influence over your life. And I think that people, when they just want to get close, they don't actually realize the danger that comes with that, because you're walking into something blind. You got to be sensitive. You got to be prayerful. But the Holy Spirit was really like pressing me like, yo, you need to submit to him. And if you want what I have for your life, then you'll do that. So for me, it was like, it wasn't like I'm gonna make this choice. It was like, no, this is obedience. So for me, that's how the market was.
I want Lance, you go ahead and speak to it, and then I want to come back to the whole notion and the whole thought that you don't choose a father, because I think that's so powerful, and I think we want to talk about that a little bit more. But Lance, how did you kind of, because I'm sure it was a journey, right? For some people, it could be like just a moment, like it could be a moment where God says, hey, do this or do that. But for you, what was that journey like? Because you've been a part of our church for how long now?
A year.
A year.
Yes, sir.
So, right. So when did you start feeling like maybe I should be close to him? Maybe I should connect with him. How did you come to that?
So it's kind of like opposite of him. Like when I first came to the church, it was overwhelming. I came in the thick of worship one Sunday.
No, tell them what you told us.
No, I'm about to. Like literally, I came in on a 3-2-5. I came in the thick of worship, and I was like, nah, because I'm coming from a Baptist background.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I'm used to old school, traditional, all of that. And so coming in, prophetic is a prophetic movement and lights everywhere. And I was like, nah, I'm good. Let me go back to what I know. And so I went through this journey, had my first like encounter with God, and he led me back to embassy without me even, you know, truly like knowing and understanding why. But through that journey, I ended up coming in on the series when you was talking about being planted, and that moved me to like, all right, let me join the church. But as soon as I joined the church, we was in here. It was an hour away. And so I was like,
wow.
I don't know. So it's this other pastor that was close to me. I was like, maybe I need to join their church because it's closer. And so that the day I made that, I was contemplating that. Larissa, she called me one day and was like, hey man, we need people to serve for set design.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, all right, cool. The first time I came in, I'm sitting there, we waiting for the worship team to get done rehearsing so we can set the stage. And God just literally started talking to me. He was like, this is a spot that you need to be planted in. I didn't make a mistake by bringing you back here. You're not going nowhere, and you know this is the man that you need to be serving under or whatever. So started with that, and on from there, your messages just started clicking to me. Like, you know, when you was talking about serving and being a leader and discipleship and sonship and the creative and, you know, being burdened with those things.
Yeah.
Those are things I've always been burdened with when it comes to that, and not even knowing the spiritual realm of that, just not naturally wanted to, you know, help other people, lead other people, and, you know, help other leaders. And so just from that, I realized like that's the God that I need to be serving under. And so through that, ended up, you know, I told him I used to reach out to you and be like, hey man, you ever looking for some more sons? You know, I'm here.
Yeah.
And so like you one day you just liked the message, and I was like, well, he's seen it. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but you know, he's seen it. And then one day it just literally got a text and was like, hey man, meet me here. I met Jeff. We talked about some stuff. And from that day forward, like I said, I just started guarding the door.
Yeah.
And I told him, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was honestly about to join the ambassador team. I didn't know it.
Right.
And on from there, just certain things just started happening, and proximity got closer and closer. And then that's when I started realizing like the importance of having a spiritual leader and being a son. So that was my journey of it.
Sorry about that, man. No, that's really, really good, man. And I appreciate the transparency, because a lot of people don't know the journey. They don't know what the journey looks like. So a lot of times they'll come into a church, and if they feel a lack of connection or lack of proximity, they automatically feel as if it's never going to happen. I'm never going to be able to connect with them. I'm never going to be able to be close with them. And not saying that everybody even desires that, but if a person does desire that, they're looking for another level of accountability, another level of training, development, discipleship, then they'll start to feel that pull. And a lot of times people either feel like there's red tape around the pastor, the people around the pastor won't let them in, but the people around the pastor are also there to protect the pastor. And you know, it doesn't just start spiritually, it starts physically, like when he was, you know, guarding the door. I think that you're learning things, you're learning principles both naturally and spiritually that will then, you know, help you to be able to serve whoever you're called to serve. And so no, I love that. We're going to go back to a point that Jeff made. And if you guys are joining us, I do want to say this caveat. If y'all are joining us, because a lot of people are coming on late, but it's good, the community is growing. It's Wednesday. It's 10. We went live around like 10:13, 10:15, but this is a brand new podcast called For Sons Only. It should be on the screen right now. For Sons Only. We don't know how frequent it's going to be. We don't know who's going to always be on the couch or in the hot seat. I know I won't always be there, but today I'm there to start the conversation, because we're talking about serving leaders, serving pastors, serving executives. How does it look like to be in a position of submission, to have to obey, to have to serve? You know, how do you do that, and what does it look like, and what are the benefits of it? We're going to talk about all of that, and it's going to be really, really good. And so I'm excited about it. So I want to go back to something that Jeff said real quick. We were talking about, okay, how did you really start to build this relationship? How did you start to really feel like you were called? to serve. And something that you said, Jeff, you said that you started studying and researching, kind of studying who I was, kind of studying my messages. And that is so important because I know so many people that are like, Apostle, I want time with you. And I'm like, you ain't spend time with the stuff that I've created. You ain't spend time. You ain't got no books. You don't watch online. You don't watch the app. So what has that journey been like? What have you discovered through the studying? And again, you could talk about studying messages or studying me, watching me. What have you learned about me or about serving in doing that?
Well, I think like the man Brian Meadows is equally as powerful as like the apostle, right? Because your character and your integrity. You know what I mean? So even before a message is like, all right, you can say amazing things and you could be like a terrible person, but you're not.
Right.
You know, and to see like your whole life, like it speaks that your whole life speaks that. It's super dope. But that journey for me, it was like, all right, I got a decision to make in 30 days where I'm about to go. Right. So I don't know what's going to happen. So I started tapping in, but then it was like you were speaking a language that I knew, but I didn't know all of it yet.
Mm.
So that's what made the difference in me. It was like, all right, like again, it's like, all right, this is the level of revelation that not only do I desire to know, but I desire to express in the way that the Lord has for me in my life. And I think that every son should understand, like, you know, like your father's grace is supposed to be intertwined with yours, right? So, but you also, like, not only do you have to grow in your own grace, like you got to also understand your father's grace too, for you to be a son. And I just felt like, man, like a lot of stuff that you were saying, like, it's like, I never had a conversation with you, but I just understood, you know what I mean? And I wanted more understanding. It's like, it's so weird. Cause like, I want to say like my heart understood where you were going.
What you mean when you say going, you mean like going
and revelation,
okay,
like
so
when you're teaching, like how you're living, it's like, yo, like this is crazy. Like to be on this level, to be, you know, where the Lord is taking you. And it's like, we always talk about it all the time. Like, you know, like you like a machine. And I remember one time you had told me like, man, like when you study rockets, the fuel that they have to give off to continue to climb. And it's something that you do consistently, but it's like, man, like, it was like my heart was just intertwined with what you were doing, how you were living your life. So that process for me, it was like, and it was really like, I want to say random, but I don't even want to say, it was just obnoxious how it like collided with one another because it was out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was out of nowhere.
Like it was out of nowhere. Yeah. So for me, when something like that happens, when an out of nowhere interaction happens, like I'm the type of person where I gotta like, I think analytics. I'm like, all right, I gotta figure out why, where, when, how, who, and what does this mean for my life. So it was like an intense journey, and it still is. So yeah.
And what does that look like on a daily, weekly basis? You continuing to study, and again, and when I say study, I'm talking about whether it's what I'm preaching, you know, things that I do. What does that look like on a daily basis?
I would say honestly, it's a measuring stick for like where you are, right? Because when you have somebody that you look up to, as I just think it's innate, like also being an athlete, being a competitor, like it's like modeling your game after somebody. You're always going to look at their game and be like, okay, like what am I not doing? So how that looks in the spirit is like, okay, like what is my stamina like in my prayer life, right? Like what is my consistency like with me studying my word? Even if I'm not in front of people, like when I'm by myself, what is it like when I'm sitting with my own thoughts, right? Like how am I processing them? Like what am I doing with that? And I think that for me, like it constantly looking at what you do, looking at how you handle stuff in certain situations, like it makes me check the measure of man that I am.
Yeah.
Because my goal as a man ultimately is like to be a phenomenal man, right?
100.
But you can't be that unless you see that, right? So I was lucky to grow up with a dad who was phenomenal, but then to have a spiritual father who's also phenomenal too. It puts you in a spot where it's like, all right, like you don't really have an excuse.
Yeah, you have no excuses.
You have no excuse. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think the moment that I accepted, it's like, all right, I don't have an excuse. I just got to be diligent in studying.
Yeah.
Like I got to be diligent. And like one of the things, remember we was back here, he was like, yo, what's theology out in here is doctrine out there.
Yeah.
So like being able to take those principles and like every day be like, all right, cool. I got to be on my P's and Q's. Yeah, that's just what it's like.
No, that's really, really good. And I don't let us forget that, because Lance, I want to give you an opportunity to speak on how have you observed and how have you studied. But Christy, she asked a question, and I think it's an amazing question. She said, Apostle, how do you deal with turnover of sons? Emotionally and spiritually? How do you deal with turnover of sons? And the first thing I'll say to that is with true sons, there is a very low turnover rate. All right. It is very, very few and far between that I've lost a genuine son. I can probably count on one hand in 12 years the amount of times a true, genuine son has left me or left me prematurely or left me wrong. Right? Because a true son is going to leave because you want to send them out. You want to be able to launch them, but you hope that they are going to a fruitful place, and you hope that they're going in the right spirit and they did the right thing, right? They're transitioning right. And so honestly, in my 12 years of pastoring, I've probably had a handful of sons that either left the wrong way or left at the wrong time. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because it's funny because Jeff, David, Lance, all of y'all have only been here for a little while, but I think that you guys have been able to see some of the ups and downs, or and stuff like that. So I wanted them to kind of speak to it, and then I'll talk to it a little bit. What have y'all seen as it relates to sons leaving, sons transitioning? How have I processed that, and how have y'all seen that deal with me, or how have y'all seen that affect me emotionally and mentally?
I can say it was an emotional experience for me to see, understanding like it, even though it's a spiritual thing, it's still it's closely to like a natural father having to give his son to, like, it's almost like giving your son to the army, and you send him out for war, but sometimes he can go out to war before he's even done any study on what platoon he's going to be in, or what part of the army he's going to serve. So like the ones that I've seen like leave prematurely and see how it affected you is like, before you leave out, just talk to me. Like, let me give you guidance. Let me show you there is more than just being on the battlefield. Like, sometimes you can be in the air. If you go in the air, you can be, it'll be more safer. But because you're putting yourself on the front lines before you're prematurely ready, you might go to a gun battle with a knife.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I've been able to see that, and then like understanding that it's more than just saying like I'm about to get up and leave. Like, nah, like if you feel like you're ready to be released, like let's really get to the understanding.
And if it's God leading you to be released,
right,
why would you not do that right?
Right.
Exactly. Like if it's God leading you to be released, why wouldn't you involve your pastor, your spiritual father? You follow what I'm saying? That don't even make sense. I mean, if you say that I've covered you and I've been there for you and I've developed you and I've trained you, why then, if you're going to make a life decision, would you not involve me in that? So this is one of the things that it's so simple for me as a father. And people say, well, how do you know if it's time for them to leave or not? It's based on how.
Yeah.
How?
Sure.
I know if my child is ready to date by how. If she's sneaking around, you ain't ready. The moment you feel responsible to say, you know what, let me bring this to my dad, let me bring this to my mom, that's when you know, oh, there's a level of responsibility. Sure. Okay. And then I can even trust the fact that you're making a decision because you made it maturely. So for me, it's really, really simple. I watch the way people start moving. And if you're always in my face and the moment either you're offended or you're confused or you feel like it's time to transition, you create distance. That's how I know that's not God leading that. You follow what I'm saying? Because if it was God leading that, you would feel a urge and a burden to be closer. You know what I mean? To have a better relationship. Sure. And even if there's rocky stuff, I'm about to transition. Let me fix everything that I need to fix. You follow what I'm saying? But what about you, Jeff? How have you seen it? Because I think, you've been around a little bit longer and you've seen me emotional. You've seen, me hurt by different things. How have you kind of, seen me process sons either transitioning or just sons that stay, but sons that hurt me while they're here? How do you deal with that?
My favorite word, you just stay thorough. That's so hard to do. And I think like people underestimate that, because a lot of times people forget that, like, yo, your pastor is still a human being. He still has a heart. Like when you leave here, you still got a wife, you still got a daughter, you still have other things that go on in your family. And people can be so unrealistically stupid with their expectations.
Here you go.
And no. And it sounds so harsh, but it's like sometimes, like, man, if you're gonna be anything in life, be for real. And I think that just to say, like, when you talk about the distance being created, like we talk about it all the time, like the series where you was really like preaching on Elijah and Elisha, like it's a version of the scripture that says like, if you can see me as I am being taken
Mm-hmm.
up. So the proper distance, if there's any distance created, it's supposed to be because the Father is shifting. Then your
Mhm.
job as a son is to make sure that you see that accurately enough to like, all right, I gotta make that pivot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. But if the father
talking.
is what happened?
You're talking.
Oh, my fault. If the father is
Makes
like,
a
hey,
pivot.
yeah,
If he-
makes a pivot and you don't, and then it's a difference if all your brothers is doing it.
Yeah.
Because if your brothers is doing it, then everybody else is like, bro.
But you get on something. You get on
Yeah.
something. So number one, there is no way I can grow a son if I'm not constantly growing.
Yeah.
Right. So covering and caring for somebody else puts responsibility on me that I always got to be growing. I always got to be on my P's and Q's. I always got to be constantly in development. And if I don't, what happens is the son will bump up into the father
Yeah,
because the father stops growing,
Right.
but the son continues to
Makes
grow.
sense, yeah.
So they'll start to bump heads.
Mhm.
You follow what I'm saying? Because whether and we're gonna get to this in just a moment, the son is made for the humanity
Yeah.
of the leader, of the pastor. But at the same time, if the son begins to see the humanity eclipse the mantle and eclipse the assignment, all of a sudden the son can start to get frustrated because I'm not seeing the level of integrity. I'm not seeing the level of purity that I need to see that's going to continue to make me grow or motivate me to grow.
Right.
So a lot of times you'll start to see them bump heads. But what Elijah said, if you can see me when I'm taking up, meaning that I must continue to grow. In order for me to take you into your future, I got to continue to grow. As I'm growing, if you don't get offended, if you don't lose your revelation of me, if you don't get familiar, if you don't allow my busyness to create distance, then we can continue to grow up until the point where there's a transfer of a mantle. So I think that's kind of what he's talking about, and I think that that's so important. I don't know if y'all want to speak to that. Y'all can speak to
for
that.
sure. And I think something that you said, like the humanity piece, like when you think about Noah, he had 3 sons. It's always funny that like it was 2 mature ones and it was just one who was just really immature. And I think that like you got to always check your maturity level as a son too.
So yeah, too mature.
So like when Noah was drunk, and,
oh
you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
2 sons had to be more mature and be like, bro, like you wildin'. Like we don't know the conversation that went on,
100%.
but it's like, bro, like even if you saw that, like if it's anybody that you talk to about that, it's us.
Right.
So we can help you judge your maturity level, and we can help you judge like you're seeing this wrong. Like this is just what comes with it. Because what I also think, even what happened?
No, you're good. No, you're good.
No.
Yeah.
Also, what I think, like even if you look at it naturally, like as a kid, no son. Like when your dad is hard on you as a kid, you always like, man, my dad always da 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 da. But then when you become a man, you understand like
those lessons stick no matter
those
what.
lessons stick. But not only that, like life happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
So it's like your responses to everything. Like one thing that I've heard before is like you cannot control how somebody else processes their trauma or their life, right?
Mhm.
And if I'm meant to see you humanity, like you said, I always gotta have that level of honor. Like, hey, no matter what, I got to keep that level of reverence high at all times, no matter even if you do something that does offend me, right? If you're not doing anything that's immoral, right? If you're not doing anything that's like super outlandish, even if you are, my job is to still have enough respect and enough honor for you as a son, because again, like sons don't choose their fathers. That's just not how it goes.
And this is so good, man, because and maybe not this episode, maybe next episode, I'll share a little bit about my journey into sonship and stuff like that. But just to speak to that, now I'm going to go back to the humanity piece, because the son is made for the father's humanity, not just the father's ministry, right? There are so many people that come around us and all they care about is the anointing, all they care about is ministry, prophecy, or whatever the case may be, but there's nobody that really serves you as a human being. Sons are built for the humanity, for my humanity, for the other side of ministry that most people don't get a chance to see. Now, I do want to say this because he dropped a revelational, gem, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people that may be watching may not know the story of Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth. But Noah, of course, we know had 3 sons. After Noah built the ark, after there was a great storm, a great revival, after the waters abated, he comes out of the ark. He establishes 2 things, an altar and a vineyard, which shows us that the presence of God and your productivity is connected, right? And so, but he ends up getting drunk on the vineyard or on the vine. He starts to get drunk with wine. And the Bible says that he's naked. It's a metaphor. Not only is he physically naked, but it's showing that his flaws, his insecurities, his shortcomings are now able to be seen and in view. And the scripture says that one of his sons goes into the tent, goes into the tent. I want to say it was Ham. Ham goes into the tent, sees his father's nakedness, comes out, and instead of him covering his father, speaking highly of his father, honoring his father, he started to go around telling his brothers what he saw in the tent. His brothers then take a mantle, take a cloak, take a jacket, take a towel, and they start marching backward, walking backward to cover the father, but also not to expose him or to see his nakedness. So that is what Jeff is talking about. But fathers are built for the humanity, right? For humanity. So I want to say this. So sometimes you're 100% right. We'll be human. We may not always have the best attitude. We may offend you. And offense is one thing. But when you start talking about immorality, you want to cover a person. You want to cover a person as long as you can until what they're dealing with is starting to, I don't want to say negatively affect you, because if you're around somebody and they're being stressed out or something like that, that may negatively affect you. But when it's starting to hurt your view of God, hurt your view of the church, hurt your view of leadership, when you are now confused as it relates to what is right or wrong, and there could be either perverse practices or principles that are starting to seep its way into the foundation of your theology and how you see God. It don't matter how awesome that person is. It don't matter how well connected you are. It's time for you to leave. And it's time for you to transition. Whenever what a person's going through or their humanity becomes a form of abuse or destruction, it's time for you to leave.
So I think that'd be something that's like dope for people, because, I don't like the term, but it's a real thing, like church hurt, right?
Yeah.
When somebody does run into that, like, I don't think people know how to handle those conversations, so they just like ghost. And ghosting is one of the things, is like, if you do that, it will also leave a bad stain on your character,
100.
even if you like 100% innocent, because people are always going to have weirdo perceptions around certain things. So like, how do you have that conversation, or how do you exit? Like, what is that exit plan? Or like, hey, like something immoral happened, like, what do you do with that?
Well, look, if it's an immoral thing, definitely is, you don't have to deliberate. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if it's something, if you need clarity, that's why you have to be careful that, like you said, that you don't confuse of being offended, getting corrected with something that's immoral, right? I didn't do anything that's biblically negligent. I didn't do anything against the word of God. So if I didn't do that, I don't think then that should give you a license to just leave, like you said, just like go somebody. But let's say there is a level of abuse. I mean, the guy has a bad attitude, the lady's yelling at you, cussing at you, and then there's immorality. You don't have to deliberate. I would still just give a person a notice. If you feel like somebody's going to fly off the handle and they're not going to be a good person to sit down and have a conversation with, then write a letter. You know what I mean? Write a letter. For the past few years, these things have hurt my heart. Me seeing this has really put me in a bad place. I do want to give you time to clarify. Like, I want to give you an opportunity to clarify anything. Always tell people, keep a track record. You know what I mean? Allow them to go through. Now, and again, I'm telling you this, going back to like sons transitioning. I've had a few people transition in my ministry. And it's funny, and I'm talking about just in the past year. And when they sat down, they had a list of stuff that they were offended with, but they never gave me an opportunity to speak to it. They never gave me an opportunity to say, well, that was your confusion. You know what I mean? And it was just, hey, this is how I feel. And it's done, it's over. I don't think that that's fair, because there could be stuff that you confuse, you misread, you misinterpreted. That's not necessarily is what it is. But if you've been hurt and abused, you've been cussed out, things been thrown at you, there's impropriety, there's immorality and stuff like that, I would write a letter. I would write a letter.
Yeah, I think this might sound like real oxymoronic. Like, sometimes one of the best things for a son is like for you to misunderstand something, because it tests, like, to me, it tests your heart. Like, am I going to not have the proper understanding about this and hold on to it? Or am I actually going to like find out what grace is with my father? Like, yo, like, I really don't understand why this, that, and the third happened. Because then at that point, I feel like you start to see a different lens of your father, right? Like, the more like even when you're younger, like when you don't understand why you're getting in trouble, you hold on to it. Like, you do dumb stuff. Like, I hate my dad, I'm running away. It's like, you're running away for what? Then as you get older, like, you understand that conversations make so much, like conversations, healthy conversations, like they cure so much. But I just think that's always like, I don't know, man. Like, in seeing it, I think the part that gets you the most is like being somewhat. I've never said this before. Being somewhat of an empath.
Okay.
That is what. No, I really have never said that before.
Watching Tiffany Buckner. Or
You know, Tiffany Buckner's like that.
Oh,
Man. Listen, I'll be on TikTok at 9, 10-minute videos, 10-minute videos, 10 minutes, 30
she just
seconds.
be laying in the bed like,
yeah. Thank you for the roses, thank you for the money, thank you. Shout out Tiffany Buckner. But no, like it's like when you see like you're like, man, this really does hurt.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. And it's like it's like again as a brother, it's like it's not even directly happening to me. But it's like, wow, this sucks. Yeah. But I think, man, like if people just understood, like all you got to do is just really
care. All you got to do is care. All you got to do is, and I want to ask a question because somebody asked a really, really great question. But all you have to do is care. It's interesting because number one, as a believer, I already feel like there should be a level of honor, intelligence. But then, if you serve in ministry, there should be a level of honor, intelligence, and then even more, if you're a leader, there should be a level of honor, intelligence. But then even more, if you are a son of God, there should be a level of honor, intelligence. And then if you're a son of a ministry, a son of the house, a son of a man or a woman, there should be a level of honor, intelligence, right? Like I'm dealing with this in my house now where I'm trying to get my daughter to understand. And I'm just trying to get her, in the habit, where it's like, hey, when dad comes home, it don't matter what you're doing. Stop what you're doing, come out your room and acknowledge the fact that your father is there. Mm-hmm. That's honor. For sure. That's honor. Like if I walked in and you guys were in the back, and I think one time that happened or something like that. You remember that? You remember that?
Was a Tuesday night, boy. We was quiet for the next 3 weeks.
What happened? Talk about that.
This is what happened. So usually we come in here. The first thing we do is, we open the blinds because you never pull up from the right side. I think that day you came in from the right side. When we was in here, everybody was having a good day. Energy was high. It was an amazing day. And that's also something like as a son, you just always got to be prepared. The air is going to lead a balloon and you got to take that on the chin. But it's a good thing. So like we sitting there, who was it? It was everybody was on time that day. Yeah. That's before traffic started getting crazy. So we sitting there. I'm like in the back getting the clothes and we laughing and all but the doors were open. We do the same thing. Had a garage door ready, have everything there. So all of a sudden, I'm in the back and I'm like, something is off. It's like we ain't text us back. Something is off. I came in and you was like, it takes 8 of y'all to do this and a third. And everybody was like, like everybody's energy just went down. But like you was like, yo,
what happened though?
But because it was like we were distracted. Mm-hmm. We were distracted in the moment. That wasn't about us, which is also another thing. If you're a son, you got to understand. It's not about you.
Can you get your big finger out the camera?
I think one of the biggest things though is like the level of proximity always tests your sensitivity. So
he gonna preach.
So
he gonna preach.
He been killing it. I'm not gonna lie, he been killing it.
I got a tight thing.
Nah, so
it rhymes too.
So now, like seriously, like sometimes we can get so close to a person that we forget like this is a spiritual thing. So we can get like clouded in like, oh man, he joking with us. He always, we got this joke. He don't get to do this outside of here. But we forget, like, even in the midst of that, we have to also remain sensitive to the spirit. So, like, even if he's not here, you got to be like, okay, boom, Pop, you good. Like, are you sure you good? Do you need anything? We're not just saying this just to say, like, seriously, if you're feeling tired in this moment, how can we make sure that you're not being working yourself, overwhelmed, things of that nature. So, like, I think
we
a lot
of people
make sure
he's not overwhelmed with Q&A.
Facts. That's definitely.
Gee whiz.
So,
don't let us go down that rabbit hole.
Keep going.
Even with like how we talking about people, leaving in respectful manner. Like, don't just sit there and come up with a list of things that you did wrong. If I'm leaving, then I'm gonna also say, but before I say the things that you did wrong, I want to honor you for the things that you did right. Gotcha. So before I even make you feel as if you were this terrible person, I'm going to make sure that you know that I've grown tremendously. If I could do anything different, then maybe this and this and this. Yeah. So now we have a clear understanding that I'm not leaving because you were a terrible person. Yeah. I'm leaving because I may have felt like this was done and I wasn't able to grow in this aspect. So it may be best for me to leave this way so I won't build a spirit of offense. But I think people forget that moment and then they just build this thing up like, I'm going to let him know how I feel. Right. And they forget that one, like you said, not only is this a pastor, but this is a father, this is a man. and a man of God. So with our spirits, as we become closer to God, we do start feeling other people's emotions and spirits. And so you gotta think about that before you do anything.
Crazy, bro. You just said it's like, I'm gonna let him know how I feel. You're not
Yeah.
technically, because you're not even having a conversation.
Exactly.
So it's like you're like in your head making up scenarios that don't exist
at all.
Like that's delusional.
Yeah, I want to. Somebody asked this question. It's been up for a while. I want to go ahead and make sure that we answer this question. Somebody said, "How do you exit without being disrespectful or having a conversation without being angry?" And I'm thinking they're talking about, you know, if they've been offended, if somebody has done something immoral to them, and I want to go back to honor intelligence, operating in the kingdom of God. Yeah, I want y'all to understand this is that you can't fake your way through spirituality. Right? Like you can fake yourself or fake your way through religion. You can make people think that you're more anointed than you are, you're more gifted than you are. But when it comes down, the fruit in your life is gonna speak, is gonna tell on you, is gonna tell whether or not you have true, mature spirituality or whether you don't. And that's why I love spirituality, because you can't lie. And the reason I'm saying that is because if I'm healthy spiritually, there are gonna be certain things in my life. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna study my Bible. I'm gonna serve. I'm going to give. These are natural expressions of a healthy spirit, right? I'm going to be generous, blah, blah, blah. But also, I'm going to honor. I'm going to speak highly of those, not only in leadership, but I'm going to speak highly of those around me. I'm not going to gossip. I'm not going to slander. I'm not going to sow discord or division. I'm not going to speak against leadership or speak against my ministry, my church, my house, my family. I'm not going to do that because it's honor. And so, you are upset sometimes. You do feel offended sometimes, but all of that, I buffet my flesh, right? I'm controlling myself. I'm using temperance and self-control, and out of my belly is going to come honor. Out of my mouth is going to come honor, because I think that's what I would owe somebody. I think about David and Saul. Right. Saul threw javelins at David. He tried to kill David. David had an opportunity to kill Saul. And he made a decision, you know what? I'm not going to touch this man. And I think that shows a level of honor. I want to ask y'all this, though, because Lance almost killed us with the whole proximity and familiarity type of deal. So answer me this. Proximity does come with closeness. Like you said, you get the jokes. You see people in, non-ministry environments. How do you keep your level of reverence, respect, revelation, and honor while you are becoming familiar? Not trying to become familiar, like the spirit of familiarity or common, but you are learning or knowing more about this person. How do you keep that level of reverence, honor, and respect?
Keeping your heart pure, like making sure that you're living. When you get those certain pockets of impartation that you get in when you are close to that person, making sure that you keeping that in the forefront, not keeping their humanity in the forefront, but keeping the spirituality in it. So when we became sons, we all, I know for me, I could say I had a thing like, okay, this is, I'm growing in this aspect. Mm-hmm. Like I'm only here to grow closer to God and to serve, this spirit, my spiritual leader. And so that is always on the forefront of anything that I do. I'm not doing it to become a close friend. I'm not doing it to become just to say I'm closer to my apostle than the average person, whatever. I'm honestly doing this because God called me to do it, and I'm serving my spiritual leader. Yeah. So I think keeping that on the forefront of everything is like, if he's joking, still listen to what he's joking about. Because even though he's joking, he might be dropping something in there like, haha, man, I'm tired. All right, Joe's over with. Like, let's have fun. But then at the same time, I love you. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, just being able to remain sensitive. Me and Jeff talk a lot. And one of the things he said the other day, which was like, it's simple, but it's like still powerful, is like, it can be so easy as long as we remain simple. I mean, as long as we remain sensitive and smart. Like, sensitivity is the biggest thing when you are a son. Mm-hmm. As long as you remain sensitive, your heart, you have your apostle's heart. So when he's feeling these certain things, you be like, okay, I know he's pushing through because he's naturally able to do that. Like, he has energy.
He's a dog.
You see what I'm saying? Like, when he's tired, he can still go 100 miles per hour. So I know that he's tired, even though everybody else is like, yeah, keep going. I'm gonna be like, all right, when he get done with them, when he get to the bat, let's wrap it up, man. Let's go and get him up out of here. So I think just keeping your sensitivity high, keeping the true purpose of a son in the forefront, that would keep those things in line.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff?
Can you ask the question again?
Yeah,
while he was talking, he said something crazy, but it also made me think about like how insensitive people are, and it got me tight. So
go ahead. No. Talk to that. You can talk to that.
And it's like you gotta like, I don't know, man. Like, you just gotta be more aware. Like if it's it's like you gotta be aware. Like you gotta be aware when to ask the question, when to have the conversation, when to approach, when not to approach. And it's like people are so insensitive because at the end of the day, it's like, man, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes one of the worst parts of being around a group of people is that people will really only focus on what they need. It doesn't matter the detriment of the other person. It's like, yo,
that's my life.
And it's not, and again, I know I'm going to use the example, but it's a real thing. And it really does. It's like, yo, it's no way that this makes sense. Tuesdays, right? The dopest thing that we have outside of an amazing word, amazing worship, is the Q&A on Tuesdays, right? Sure. Because it gives everybody a chance to, ask the questions that might be challenging them in their faith. Also, at the same time with that, I think people forget, hey, he was just up there talking and pouring out for an hour 30. Because you got to remember on Tuesdays, like, he does the transition. He does the offering, right? So once he gets up, he's up. He's going to get up at like 7:50, and then he's not going to get off that stage until 10 o'clock.
For sure.
The thing that kind of hurts me a little bit is like, you got to be like, it might not be your week to ask this question.
For sure.
And especially like sometimes I think that people rob themselves of like learning their apostle's heart by, I'm trying to figure out, learning their apostle's heart by not taking advantage of their community. Because if somebody's over their department, you get what I'm saying? Exactly, like if somebody's over a department, right? They're in leadership, he trusts them. He's giving them a chance. So a lot of the questions that you have, they could probably answer for you because they didn't ask the same things. Like it's really not like
100%.
It's no question that's like the Bible says nothing new is under the sun. So that means the question that you had, the only reason somebody else got the answer is because they didn't have the question before and it just passed down. But I think that like you said, sensitivity, and then also keeping like the main goal in mind. And the main goal in mind is like, hey, like serve as best as you can. For me, it's like serve well, be as attentive as possible. Because then it's also like, if you are a son at this level, that means one day you potentially can become a father.
For sure.
Right.
So you got to serve as if, all right, I want to make sure that he's so taken care of that maybe a part of me reaping my sowing is me having great sons too.
100%.
Because a part of it is like I think people's insensitive, thoughts sometimes, you're going to have an amazing legacy. You already have one, right? We just got to keep getting through the journey. Another part of a father's legacy is the strength of his sons.
For sure.
Like if your son's is dope, like I don't think there's no dad in the world that has dope sons that's like, oh, my life sucks.
Right.
No, if you firing on all cylinders and your sons is like that,
for sure.
Right.
Like that's amazing. So I just think like keeping the main goal, serve well, be sensitive, be attentive, and do it unto the Lord too.
100%.
Because that's who put you here. So
and look, we throughout the episodes, this whole concept and conversation around proximity and familiarity, I think we have to have this conversation, if not every episode, every other episode, because it's something that we constantly deal with, and it is an evolutionary journey. There is a question down here. I put the question down here, and I want to make sure that we answer this question. It says there are many references to being aware of apostle being tired. Do sons also act as armor bearers? What is their function when serving? So I want to answer the question quickly, and then I'm gonna throw it to y'all. Number one, every son is an armor bearer, but every armor bearer is not a son.
That's
right.
right.
There are people that may serve as an armor bearer in church, just based on maybe they do security, maybe they love hospitality, but they may not have a connection to the father yet or a connection to the pastor yet. But every son, especially those that have proximity or are brought into proximity, they should have the ability to be an armor bearer. All right. And when we say armor bearer, we're talking about, number one, protection. We're talking about refreshing or strengthening, and whether that's naturally like through water and something to drink, or eliminating space, clearing the calendar, doing natural things like, hey, you don't have to go to this meeting or something like that, I'll do it. Or you don't have to go pick up these clothes or go to this, I'll get this done. So they help really kind of take the load off, so that the apostle is not as tired or the pastor is not as tired. But what of you guys, how can y'all answer this? There are many references to being aware of apostle being tired. Do sons also act as armor bearers? What is their function when serving? What is a son's function when a son is serving?
So I would say literally holding up your apostle, holding up your father, holding his arms up. Like it's days like where, like Jeff said, you done poured, like you go in, and when you get back here, you'll be like, whew, boy, I need to get up out of here or whatever.
Night.
Right, last night for sure. And it's like you gotta, like, one of the things I learned, that's why I thank God I was able to have that role of guarding the door, is like you got to be stern. Like you got to stand on, how we say it today, like you got to stand on business. Like, you got to be able to tell them, like, hey, look, bro, I understand that you have a question. I understand that, you want to give him this and that. Give it to me and I got you. Or DM him, ask him a question, or just wait, let me ask him if he, if he want.
Put the camera on me real quick. I love y'all asking questions. All right. I just need to clarify this. All right. Ask as many questions as you want to ask. I love answering questions. Yeah. It is okay to ask your question.
We're going to get an email for them. We already talked to Pastor Chris. We got to get an email. So y'all gonna be able to submit y'all questions, and then like Apostle will see them.
No, I still want people to walk up to the camera.
They'll still walk up. But it's like, man, we as sons, man, if y'all understood, like, dang, I'm about to cry.
Are you about to cry for real?
Yeah, I'm not.
So this is why we need to be able to get close up and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? What you about to cry for? Well, give it back to me. Well,
yeah. All right. You just value, man. Value. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that like just your value, and
it's real.
Just like trying to protect that is sometimes it's so hard, because you really do want to be like, no, but then it's like, that's not your spirit.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And if I act like that, then it's like, all right, that's me acting on my emotions. That's me being immature. So I gotta, you know what I mean? And we talked about it all the time. Like, man, sometimes we be like, all right, if that's 5 people, should we go up there and like maybe sit there so we can take the mic? But then we like, nah, because we never want to dishonor you.
Yeah.
Because we know your spirit. And as we're maturing, we're learning more about it. But
think about that. I want everybody to think about what he just said, because when we talk about sonship, and we're going to be doing this podcast, I don't know how long, and I'm only doing the first few episodes, and then I'm throwing it to our sons, and they're going to be taking it. They're going to be having conversations. But when you said, there's certain things that you won't do because that's not how I would do it, right? Like, that's not my spirit. We got to transpose this principle of sonship. Jesus said, I can only do what I see the Father do, right? And you got to transpose that. Number one, as a son of God, I don't want to ever act in a way that misrepresents my God, right? And then as a son of the house, I don't want to ever act in a way that may misrepresent the culture of the church that I go to. But then if I'm a son of that particular person, I never want to do something that's going to make them say, oh, apostles like this, apostles like that. I just told some sons yesterday, and I'm telling you, we got to get a close up. You know what I'm saying? But I just told some sons yesterday. I said, if you're fornicating, you can't serve me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. If I said this, if you're married and you're not having sex, you can't serve me. No. Because if you're married and you ain't having sex, your marriage ain't healthy. Don't serve me. Go get some. Because I don't, you know what I mean? Because I don't want you around me horny. Like, go get some. And if you are single, then you have a responsibility of maintaining your sexual purity because you are an open door to me. But also, if you're going to have sex with that girl, what is that girl thinking about me?
Yeah.
She's thinking that I'm going to let you be around me and I'm going to let you do that type of stuff. I would rather you tell me, hey, I'm in a season of push and pull, whatever you want to go. I'm in a.
Say that. What you said?
I
didn't hear. No, I really didn't hear.
I said a season of push and pull. I'm in a season of.
I've never heard that.
I'm in a season where, I'm dealing with my flesh and blah blah blah. Well, cool. I need you to go get that under control. I need you to go deal with that. Now, if you want me to walk you through that and be there for you, I can do that.
Right.
But you have to be accountable. It's so funny because I want to deal with that. But no, it's a few things I want to deal with, y'all. Because man, this lady said one thing. I want to bring this back up. Because I had this on my question. She said the Sunday Bishop came.
Oh my God.
Bishop Brady came to embassy, and watching Apostle interact as a son is what made me commit to embassy. I was in my seat weeping. Sonship demonstrated and not just required is a beautiful thing. Now,
I just want to. Yeah. So let me tell y'all something. That Sunday was amazing.
Amazing.
I'm trying to. Y'all wasn't there. Y'all wasn't there. Dallas, Texas. This man, first of all, he killed. That's number one.
So, but you got to make, because you're making it seem like y'all talking about the same Sunday.
No. I'm talking about a different. So that Sunday, October 1st, is amazing. I think this is like the end of March, maybe April. We went to Dallas. This man got on the stage and he was like, yeah, y'all, I'm just waiting for my bishop to get here. When he walks in.
Can you not make me sound like a
you know what? I haven't done yet. I haven't, like, being an actor, I haven't mastered, the vocal impersonation of you.
You haven't? Oh man,
I haven't yet. So it's taking some time. But he's like, yeah, y'all know, I'm waiting for my bishop to get here. And somebody was like, he's here. I lie to y'all not. This man, he said he's here. He walked off stage, hugged that man, embraced him, went up there for 50 minutes.
Went crazy.
Mike Jordan.
Yes, sir.
Game 6.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Mike Jordan, right? But then after, what was crazy is after we worked to also do everything, the ultimate like sonship move. Bishop Brady was sitting down, and he went over there and he got on his knees and he embraced him. And I'm not talking about like a quick, like, you know how when we come in here working like, yo, what up, bro? You good? I'm talking about like, yo, he stayed there.
Yeah. True sonship.
He stayed there.
Yeah.
So they think like October 1st was amazing, and that moment was crazy too. Like when they was back and forth, like that was crazy. That was very crazy, right? But like that's like that sonship personified, man. Y'all don't know, like,
because that was your first time seeing it, right?
That was, bro. I saw Bishop. This how I knew he was a good son.
Yeah.
I saw Bishop Brady and I cried.
Yeah. All right. Boom. So to his point, October 1st, I will never forget it. I'm sitting on the stage, and this is when y'all was doing the interview, and I texted you about it. I was like, yo, for him to see how you managed that moment, like you had a whole agenda with the interview. Like you knew where you was going to go, you knew the questions you was going to ask, but you felt like Bishop started speaking, and God just started giving him the download. Like he's speaking, he's sending arrows back to the enemy. Like he letting them know, like, this house is protected.
Yeah.
You sat there and you was like, and then you was like, you know what? It's your floor. Do what you do. And from that, because of your sensitivity and your obedience, the house got a new level of protection around it. Yeah. And ever since then, it's been certain little small things that didn't try to like penetrate the house that we've been aware of, that we've seen, that we stopped. And I've seen so many more people every Sunday, new people. Like he said it last Sunday, classrooms. These are classrooms of people that have been coming down, joining the church, getting saved, getting baptized. Yeah. Small things like that is like true sonship would change the trajectory of somebody's life. Like if you exemplify true sonship, somebody else is watching you just saying, I want to know what it looks like to follow somebody. I want to know what it looks like to be submitted. I want to know what it looks like to be sensitive and to be obedient. When you exemplify that can change somebody's life of saying, it's just me.
Yeah.
So like, let me go back and rekindle this relationship with my father. Let me go back to rekindle this relationship
Talk
with
on
my
that,
mother.
bro.
You
Yeah,
see what I'm
tough,
saying?
bro.
Like,
That's tough.
small little acts like of that nature can change the way somebody thinks about something that traumatized them forever ago. Church hurt, something like that would be like, all right, they hurt me because they didn't let me have a meeting with them.
Yeah,
But was it really just the meeting, or was it me being insensitive to them having so many other meetings that because I didn't get it in that time, I felt anger or I felt offense?
Yeah.
Go back to your pastor. Go back and talk to him. And you can probably figure out so much. And because you go back and talk to him, now that meeting that you was waiting on, you all get closer that much more quicker because you was able to hash it out. You was able to be an adult. You was able to be sensitive.
Yeah.
And
Man.
obedient to it.
Yo, that's it's like crazy, bro. Cause Sunship, like, it don't just change your life, bro. Like, that joint change your whole destiny.
Everything.
Like, bro, I never in my life, I didn't care about Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care about anything at all. But it's like, because it's like, yo, like, I just want to be a good son, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, to be a great son, to be a strong son.
For sure.
Like, I think that's the dope thing about serving with y'all. Everybody's not here because we squad deep.
You feel me?
Come on, man. You feel me? Shout
Gang.
out Dave. Shout out David on the camera.
You feel me?
But no, like, it's like everybody's goal is just like, yo, like, just be a great son.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the cool thing about it is, if you're not being a great son, like, one of us gonna tell you, bro.
Oh yeah,
you're not being a great son. You know what I mean? But like, again, we only can do that because, like, what we see like that day in Dallas, bro. That day, I was like, yeah, there's because you know how he'd be like, man, ain't nobody gonna outserve me.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's 8 people, however many people in this room. That's like, okay,
hey, bro, hear me. That's how I feel.
The goal is like, okay, we gonna
hear
see.
me. You may out preach me, you may out prophesy me. You ain't gonna outsun me ever.
Right.
You will never find another man that. And again, I think I started to develop a culture of honor and just the exercise and the discipline of honor through martial arts. You know what I mean? Like having a real sensei, having somebody when you walk in the dojo, you gotta bow to. It ain't based on age. It ain't based on how you feel that day. You gotta bow, right? And that always keeps that level of reverence in the forefront of your mind. And then having to serve that person. Number one, having to study that person and learn their movements, because I was gonna have to teach class.
Yeah.
And I had to teach class the same way he taught class.
Wow.
So I'm listening to how he's saying 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I'm listening to everything because number one, I don't know what I'm doing. So the only example I have of what I'm doing is this person. But then number two, I don't want people to feel shortchanged by what they get from me. You follow what I'm saying? Based on, what they're expecting or what they're used to getting from the father. And so I started learning that level of loyalty, that level of faithfulness, that level of submission, that everything I was asked to do would not be convenient and it wouldn't be easy. But no, man. Yeah. We got to keep going because I've got a couple more questions, but
did you see
that
this
was
one?
crazy.
Did you see how does being a son to apostle positively affect? And that was I appreciate good grammar. Affect, not that's amazing. Positively,
Answer it, please.
Like positively affect your sonship.
Because both of them over there are fathers. Neither one of them are married, but both of them are fathers. That was shade. Well, I'm surrounded by I got 3 sons that got children. One to my left got like 3 or 4 children.
3 or 4 is crazy.
2.
Different.
I mean, you would have thought after the first one, you would have said,
yeah, I was cool.
No, you said I'm going in again. I'm gonna get another. I said, Jesus. But all 3 of y'all got children. And David, I really, at some point you're gonna have to get on the microphone on one of these episodes, right? But how has it, because both of them are sons, how has it affected you all as a father?
Oh, I think she meant like the father. But both, we can answer for both.
Oh,
because the first time I came back here, it was somebody else in here. He was like, man, like, you can't consider your son yourself a son and you a dad and you don't take care of your kids. How you expect me to take care of you?
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and all of our situations is different, right?
Right.
I think that, like, as a father, though, something that I don't think, maybe, again, like, you could always relate it naturally. Like, as a kid, you don't understand how much your parents pray for you, right? So even in sonship, you can forget, like, all right, yeah, like, my goal is like, okay, if, all right, he say I'm not going to outsun him. I'm not going to outsurf him. All right, so I'm gonna pray for him as hard as I can.
Yep.
Right, I'm gonna pray for him at the drop of a dime. I'm gonna make sure that I'm selfless with it. You know, the same way that I'll be selfless for my natural parents, right, for my family. So I'm gonna do those things. But then you forget on the other side, like it's some days, bro, where I'll be going through it, bro. Yeah. And it won't. I'll just be like, oh my gosh, today is a day. But then like you feel something like,
yeah, let's get to it.
All right, where's it coming from? Yep. And then he'll be like, hey man, I am praying strong for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
But you feel like you forget how much that so it affects you in a major way because it makes you pray for your kids. Like it makes you like, especially in our situations, like it makes you pray for the co-parent, right? Or whatever the case is, because you have to be like in unity with that situation. But then to answer like her question with the Most High, it also, I ain't gonna lie, man, like it makes it exciting.
Yeah.
Like it makes it exciting to like try to, all right, in this season, what face of God do I need to know?
Yeah.
Right. Like in this, like what is the verbiage that God wants me to use in my life? What is he speaking over me in this season? And that's something that I like, and you teach us a lot of quick pivots too, which is crazy. Like with all the remember the first time we was in this, I think it was midweek, and he was like, let David's phrase be loose.
Yeah.
That joint, bro. It's like crazy. Stuff like that. That's like, ooh, I gotta figure out what that means. Because once he throws that out there, it gives me more interest in like, yo, what does that mean?
Go deeper.
Mm-hmm. Like what, how does the praise of David affect my life?
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that us being close to you, somebody who is a student of like, I'm going to say like the term student of the game, right? Like you're a student of the game, like the whole preaching as a whole, walking with Christ as a whole, it really makes you, it's like, yo, like if this is Jordan, it's because that's Michael Jordan, man.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Lance? How has your relationship with me affected your relationship with the Father?
So as far as my kids, it's accountability, and it's on both sides, right? So like accountability, like if I tell my son, clean your room, I'm looking around my room, like, okay, I need to clean mine too. Because once again, if you're gonna be a father, if you're not exemplifying the things that you're teaching, then it almost come off as you being a hypocrite. And I'm not trying to be a hypocrite to nobody, not to God and not to my kids and to my son. So it's like, okay, let me before I tell you anything, let me check myself. And then also with the Father, is like, before I ask you for anything, let me check myself. Like if I'm asking you for a blessing, if I'm asking you for a move, am I moving the right way? Am I staying consecrated? Am I praying? Am I doing what you told me to do before I ask you for anything? Because if I ask you for something and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, then I'm gonna have to ask myself another question. Am I ready for your no? Am I ready for your conviction?
Bro, you nice, bro.
Jesus, help us. Do y'all hear what he said?
You nice, bro. That was hard, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was tough. Whatever, bro. That was a good joke. That was a good joke.
But I don't care what they say about Lance.
They can say whatever they want.
They can say whatever.
We know the truth.
They can say whatever you want.
But seriously, like it's it's just accountability. Like even with Apostle, like bro, like anything he tells us, he's doing it. Like if he tells us to study something, like us studying Bishop Tudor, right? He's gonna, when he tells us to study that, he's studying it too. So it's like he'll hit you up and be like, "Hey man, this is great." You be like, "Oh yeah, let me tap in, because whatever he's saying is great. I need to make sure that at any given moment, if he asks me like, "Hey, what you thought about this?" If you say I don't know, it's like, okay, you're kind of like being disobedient in a way, because if you got this Michael Jordan in front of you, how dare you not be Kobe Bryant? Right. You see what I'm saying? How
you don't want to be LeBron. You just want to throw me like Kobe.
You want to be Kobe. You know what I'm saying? You definitely want to be Kobe.
You want to be Kobe for sure. You want to get more rings.
Like Kobe. Like when you Kobe was right there, and Michael told him like, "Hey man, if you have any questions, ask me. If I'm here for you."
But get this. So y'all remember that? Like it's a famous story where Michael Jordan was playing Kobe, and Kobe was like trash talking.
Yeah,
Kobe like hell. That makes Michael Jordan elated. That doesn't offend Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like you want a son that's like, "Hey, what you reading?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I want it. You know what I mean? Like you want somebody that's running towards responsibility with a pure heart, because the majority of times people that are running towards responsibility have ambition. They're fueled by ambition. So when you see somebody that's pure, somebody that's innocent, somebody that really wants impartation, correction, and accountability, and they're saying, hey, hold me accountable, like correct me. Bro, you don't even know what to do with that because you don't usually get that so much. I got a question for you all, because how long we been doing this? It's been a little bit over an hour. So we're going to get ready to wrap it up. This is only episode 1, and it's already crazy, man. I can't imagine what the next episode is going to be like, the episode after that. But I really appreciate them being here. Okay, I got this question. Now, this is not a question that I see on them. It's a question that I got. 2 questions I got. The first one is, how do you deal with proximity with no access? Like, when you first started serving, but your level of serving, your level of inconvenience, what you're doing don't match the level of access. Like, he's not calling you. There's no text messages. We ain't going out to lunch, no dinner. You ain't traveling, but you're having to show up. You're having to serve. You're having to sacrifice. People are having to wait on you. How are you able to make it through that season where you're serving, but there's no access? There's proximity, but no access.
You got to serve with the Holy Spirit. Because only the Holy Spirit will keep you from. I was just teaching on this on the.
You've been teaching for 24 hours.
The creative team.
You've been teaching for 24 hours, man.
So serving with the Holy Spirit keeps you from idolizing positions and titles. And so because of that situation, like some people, they idolize the man and not God. Like not idolizing God, but they forget that they're serving God in a sense.
Right.
Yeah. And so like for me, I wasn't swayed by not having the proximity, because when I first got to the church, I didn't have the proximity. So if I didn't have the proximity, was the revelation not still there? Was the truth of the man not still there? Was the example not still there? Yes, it was all still there. Yeah. So without proximity, I still can see from afar, like this man is still he still cares about his church. He still cares about the way people are growing. He still holds true to his word about growing the creative and growing the entrepreneur. So you got to hold true to, his words. Like he's showing that no matter how close you are to him, when you sit back and look at the people around the church, what do they exemplify? Do they exemplify what he's teaching? Then of course that's a good thing. So you don't have to be close to him to see that. So for me, I didn't have to have the calls and the text messages. Like even though I was back here, I said I'm gonna do this to the utmost, and if he don't ever call me, I know that he still cares about it, because every little thing that we do here, he knows. You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, even now, like you've traveled to South Africa with me. I've known Jeff for a year plus. There's other people, 100%. David went to South Africa with us. And there's other people that I've had relationships with for years. But I'm not necessarily the greatest at relationships. I'm not a super attachy person. I am, and I think that's one of the reasons I guard myself from talking to y'all as much, because I know that I can be like that. And in a season where there is a lot of transition and there's a lot of people coming in and out and type of deal, I think there is probably a bit of hesitancy to give a person that level of attachment, that level of loyalty, that I've given people for 10 years and plus, because you're like, okay, how long are you going to be here? And what are you here for type of deal? I forgot what I was saying. What were we saying?
We was asking about proximity with no access.
Yeah. But you said something, Lance. He's been saying so many things. You said something that made me think about it.
Knowing, like watching the people around the church and seeing that you are true to what you say, like basically like growing people, things of that nature.
Yeah, no. I think it's just going back. I think I wanted to give Jeff an opportunity to answer that question. Okay. Like, how is it like serving for you, or how was it when you first got here, even though your father was a pastor and you were used to serving to some capacity? When you first got here, how is it like, even when you first started serving me, but we ain't talking, you know what I mean? We're not texting a lot, but you're having to show up, you're having to serve. How do you make it through that season of having proximity but no access?
Yeah, well, again, I think the advantage for me is I grew up in it. So I remember like there'd be certain nights like my pop would go preach somewhere and I don't want to go. I'll be ready, dressed. Like I it's just weird. I've always been like excited to do this. I'll be ready and dressed, and he'd be like, no, I didn't understand. It's like that's my actual father. So I was like, dang, you don't want me to hang out with you? I'm trying to, you know what I mean? So I was prepared. I also was a hooper, and when I first started playing basketball, hooper.
Okay.
Yeah.
I literally thought he was talking about like he used to preach and he used to
Who, me?
hoop.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not. No, that's
okay.
that you won't ever see that from me. Yeah, no. You'll probably do that before I do.
I might. I ain't gonna
You
lie.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
Alabama.
you right.
Absolutely.
I'm from Alabama.
And
Absolutely.
that voice already. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a hooper. So for me, it's like if you just got to the varsity team, everybody has to come off the bench. It don't matter
Sure.
what it is.
Sure.
So I always like I use like the trauma or the rejection, and I'll use it the right way. It's like, bro, you just got here.
Yeah.
Like you just got here. You know what I mean? And again,
you're saying it to yourself.
yeah, I'm saying it to myself.
Right.
But again, I didn't come in with I wasn't thinking about doing this. Like
Right.
in that, like seriously. It's like, so even when it is, it's like, all right, if you do get rejected, number one, you already seen it,
Yeah.
right? Because you've been on the bench, you've had to work to earn your spot, you've had to do those things. And a lot of times, and then also you got to understand too, like how I looked at it as like, okay, even though I'm close and have no access, like
What does it change?
what does it change?
Yeah.
Like it's like because I still have a job to do.
For sure.
I still have a job to do, right? So it's like I gotta show up, I gotta be consistent, and I gotta be thorough because like there are people who are close and they do have access and they're not doing their job.
Mhm.
And I think also like every son gotta realize like your dad's responsibility is his mission.
For sure.
Like it's his mission. So as soon as you out of pocket, bro, if you gotta be shifted over, you just got to be shifted over, my boy. And it's not a rejection of his love. It's like, yo, you got like keep the main thing, bro.
Yeah.
And if you think of it like that, like for me, so it's like, all right, proximity, no access. It's like, okay, well, whenever you call, I'm getting 40 off the bench.
Yeah.
If I got it, you know what I mean? If it's like, hey, I need somebody to go do this, or for me, it was like, I don't know what I'm gonna wear today. I like clothes, so this is my opportunity to minister to him.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that's also too like. Just because you have proximity with no access don't mean you're not ministering. And you gotta wear wherever you at. Like you gotta wear that with confidence and with diligence. So,
I know I love that because I think that jealousy can emerge among sons when sons don't know what they bring to the table. You know what I mean? Like, and every son, I think we spoke about that to some degree. Because I remember one time, because Jeff, he puts out a lot of my outfits and stuff like that. Like Jeff will help me choose a lot of stuff that I wear. But it was a couple of times either Jeff was late or Jeff wasn't here. So when Jeff isn't here, the other guys tried to put some outfits together. They was like, you know what, Jeff ain't here, so we gonna be
remember
to put the outfit. So
like, bro,
I came in. Number one, I came in and I knew Jeff wasn't gonna be there. So when I came in and the clothes was out, I'm like, I was like, who put these out there? I was like, I ain't wearing that. But no, I remember because Lance, you had brought me a couple of things, and I was like, yeah, I'm not wearing that. And I kind of saw Lance's face, you know what I mean? And I'm sure Lance was not offended or anything like that. Sure. You know what I mean? But he looked sad. You know? he looked sad.
No, because, it's like I think the reason it's sad is because it's like when you just want to do like again, like how you leave, how you do stuff. Right. When you want to do stuff thoroughly and you like, dang, this is the 17th outfit I done picked out.
But no, Lance was sad because Lance, he kind of feels like he's a fashion.
Let's be real. He thought he was more drippy than me. He thought he was more drippy than me. It's all right, bro. You know what I'm saying?
He felt like he knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? And on a
Where's
level, and no, hear me, on a certain level, he does. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure. He can put fits together. He puts his fits together and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is, I remember in that moment, I was like, Lance, you cut hair. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Jeff, you do this. George, you do this. You do this. You do this. Everybody has to find their way that they can serve, their way that they can minister, because your job is to minister. Luke 22, when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he asked the disciples, could you not pray and watch with me for an hour? Like, your job is to help me. Your job is to minister, to help carry the burden and to help carry the stress and the responsibility. I want to get ready to end this because we have been on here for a while. I want to ask you guys this, all right? Because this is something that I think both of y'all are growing in, all right? I think both of you guys are getting better at. I don't think y'all perfect at this, but I think y'all are getting better at this. What does accountability look like? when we talk about accountability, right? When we talk about accountability, what does accountability look like? I'm talking about in real time, like you're actually being accountable, like you're actually like step by step, there's a synchronicity, and we're doing life together. What does accountability look like?
Man,
He can't even answer it because
it
you
looks
don't
like
know.
no. For me, it looks like it looks like being weak.
Okay.
Like in the moments where it's like I don't got it today. Like, you know, if you ask like, how you doing? You good? And it's like, yeah, I'm straight. And then you ask a question, it's just like, man, let me just go ahead and just, you know.
I don't think you've ever told me. I think maybe once I can think about you telling me you had a bad day or something like that.
Yeah, but I
don't think you're really accountable.
They don't. But they don't, like, for me, they don't. If I have one, like, my goal is like, I'm gonna stack up so many good days. Boom. But if they come, right? But then you always ask questions, and it's just like being thorough enough to also trust, like, our real father has your best interest at heart, even if you don't understand it. And then it's double accountability because it's like you got your brothers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like for dudes who have to serve and they don't have anybody else, like that could be a hard thing, you know, because some stuff where you don't want to be inconsiderate to your time or to your leader's time, you don't have nobody that you can bounce that stuff off of that you trust.
True,
like,
but I don't want, but I don't want sons to use brothers as an excuse not to be accountable.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then y'all going through stuff. I don't know y'all going through it, and then I get hit up by one of the other, like, y'all, you heard from so and so, and I'm like, no, I didn't know. You know what I mean? Because they're not talking to me; they're talking to you guys as well. So, what does it look like you being accountable to me?
Oh yeah, just telling you what's going on. Even if it's embarrassing.
Is that a text once a day, once a week, once a month? What does it look like?
Like for me, it's like as it's happening. Like, because I remember you hit me a couple weeks. I was like, man, like, what's going on? You been good? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I just did that, doing this, and it's nothing really, you know, nothing else. Like right now, it's like it's a calm storm. Like, and I'm like when it pivots and when it gets crazy, and it's like, all right, cool, because like the what's the word I want to look for? The history, the little bit of history that we've built up is like, all right, I understand, like, hey, this is what's going on, and I'm not seeing clearly right now. So I need to, you know, I need you to help me get through this when you have some time. And then going from there. Other than that, it's like, yeah, I mean, just really.
What about you, Lance? What does accountability look like?
Accountability for me looks like vulnerability and consistency. Like when you can build a consistent rapport with somebody and you're consistently vulnerable, it gives them space to hold you accountable.
Right.
So if you're not like giving them any space for that, then how can they trust you? Like, how could they trust that you're taking in the advice and the support that they're giving you? So if I'm like, you know, letting you know, like, hey man, I appreciate those words that you gave me, or I appreciate the support that you're giving me. Now that triggers something in your mind, like, okay, if he's appreciated, then you're gonna live by it. Like, it's one thing to say. So if you appreciate it, I'm gonna ask you, like, what are you doing? Like, are you having sex?
Bro,
that's tough.
100%. Because this is what happens a lot of times. I see distance created between the father and the son because the son will start to feel like, well, the father isn't checking on me.
Yeah.
But the father doesn't feel comfortable to check in because there was never accountability.
Right.
When you're accountable, that's letting me know the areas in your life that I have access to.
Yeah.
If you're not accountable, that makes me feel like I can't reach into those areas. And because people have been so hurt by the church, hurt by pastors, abused by pastors, manipulated, for me, I'm very sensitive, not inserting myself in an area I haven't been invited into. Right? Even if you're a son, I can't force you. I can't make you do something. So if you don't invite me into your relationship, I'm not speaking to you in that area, right? Unless I sense something, discern something, and I may ask. But even if I ask, you still have to be accountable to give me access. And if you don't give me access, I'm just gonna feel like, okay, well, they don't want to talk about that. I'm gonna back up. But a lot of times people say, well, you didn't call me and you didn't check on me. I want to make sure that we understand that accountability is a two-way street. It's not just me checking on you, it's also you checking in. Like Tracy's on here. I see him commenting, Tracy Barlow. He's been a son just probably not even a year. He has a network. He covers other pastors. When I tell you this man checks in, if not every day, every other day. And sometimes he'll check in. I'll be so busy, I don't even have the time to answer back. The next day, guess what? He don't say stuff like, did you see my message?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You still busy? No,
the
he just
question
literally
mark
just
on
say,
it.
hey, checking in again.
Oh,
And
question
that
mark.
level of
Crazy.
maturity and that level of consistency, it breeds trust, because I know you're not going to take anything that I do and then twist it or turn it and think that, you know, I'm doing something against you or whatever the case may be. Let's do some final thoughts. What are y'all last thoughts, ideas, as we get ready to wrap up this inaugural episode? This is just episode 1. If you're just joining us, you're joining us for sons only. I think we're going to try to do Wednesdays. I'm only going to be on here for the first few episodes, just really kind of to establish a foundation, and then we're going to give it to the sons, and they're going to come live. They're going to go live whenever they want to. They can go live whenever they want to. So Wednesday may not be the day consistently, but we want to consistently have conversations regarding serving, sonship, and the kingdom of God. Sonship is a technology of destiny. I do not believe that you can reach your purpose and your destiny without sonship. I believe that sonship is all encompassing. It touches every single part of your life, every single part of your purpose, every single part of the timeline, past, present, future. I believe that it's so important to the development of your gifts and your confidence, so forth and so on. So as a last final thought, and as last final kind of like premise for a conversation, what are your final thoughts? I already asked my question. It was going to be about accountability, but what are your final thoughts as we get ready to end this conversation?
What do you think one of the coolest things about him is?
The coolest things?
I've never asked you that. What do you think one of the coolest things about
the
him?
coolest?
The coolest thing, that he remains relatable. Like he doesn't, like how we were speaking about.
Hey, because hear me. I don't understand humans at all. All right. So the mere fact that I can speak human is, you understand what I'm saying? The fact that anyway, keep going.
But yeah, like he remains relatable. Like he don't be too up here. And if he ever like has a day like where he's not feeling it, I done seen him like rebuke, but then like right after the rebuke, he like love me.
It, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that, you be like, oh nah, bro, like that's cool, because I done been around, like you said, like if you think about it, we've really been sons in so many different aspects of our lives, right? And so like for me, like being a barber, like when I first started cutting hair, I didn't know it, but I was a son. Like they
put you in the first chair near the door?
No, I was in the back. So like
come on, 100%.
So like I'm in the back, and I'm to his point, like, you know, the vulnerability and the consistency, I was being in the back and like trying to slip bad cuts out of there. Until the owner of the shop was like, "Hey, look, bro.
Now imagine if he did that.
You see what I'm saying? Like you're tripping. Like
this is good, man.
That's you tough, affecting the integrity of the business. So like I gotta hit you. Like, hey, sit down, watch, pay attention. Don't ask, just watch me." Yeah. And so like I will never forget. It was the first time that happened was like back to school weekend. And the shop is filled, and I messed up this kid's head, and he literally stopped me and was like, I don't have time to be helping you, and I got this line of people, so just you're gonna have to manage this, sit down, watch me, and then hopefully you can put 2 and 2 together and you can grow. And so like I literally sat there and watched. I was hurt. I was like, dang, bro, why looking at all these people, like I'm not being able to cut none of this. And literally from that day, I went home, I cried, I prayed, and I came back, and I was just like, all right, I don't have no other out, so just do it. And from that day forward, I've been watching people, just always observing. I don't have to ask too many questions. I will observe and see where you going, and I'll follow your lead. And so from there, I end up growing my career, my talent into this. So like even now, it's like as a son, you just gotta, even if you don't have the question to ask, just watch. If you watch, you will be able to see where your father is leading you and where he's going.
The first level of impartation, the first level of impartation is observation.
Yeah, for sure. And that's all you got to do is just observe, man. Observing y'all. Like when I first got back here, I was a deer in the headlights, didn't know what was happening. And so just watching Jeff, watching George, watching Matt.
They're going in. They're going in. This is crazy. Y'all are going in.
Nah, facts. I really did.
Yo, Matt, I love you so much, bro.
He said he cried after he messed up.
I was hurt.
That is amazing.
I was hurt, bro. Love you, Matt. But no, seriously, like watching everybody else, man, like you gonna pick up on a lot of stuff. And that's just with anything that you do.
What Matt ain't gonna tell you is that when Lance first started, Lance was his barber. Matt used to have them crazy haircuts. Matt used to have them messed up haircuts. And he was like, who cut your hair? Lance. Nah, they didn't call you Lance. They was Stubbs. We're going to wrap it up. Look, I pray that you guys enjoyed the conversation. This is what
skipped right over me.
Oh, wait. Are you wearing
Oh, man.
That's crazy. Oh, yeah.
He's about to get rejected. He's about to get that rejection.
No.
No. I totally forgot. His answer was so long.
It was though. It really was.
His answer was so long. I thought we were done. But no. So last thoughts. We're ending the first episode. This is our inaugural episode. If you're joining us, welcome to For Sons Only. I want to put it on the screen every single Wednesday, some day of the week. We're going live and we're talking about sonship. We're talking about serving. We're talking about submission, accountability. I love the conversation already, but this is our first one. We're getting ready to end it, so I'm throwing it to Jeff for a final thought.
Yeah, we're 12 minutes away from one of the most important days on the earth at midnight. Just want to throw that out there. Second,
your birthday tomorrow?
Come on, man. Yeah, for real.
Seriously?
Tomorrow's birthday. I don't really ever talk about it. I don't know why. Anyway, I just looked at the clock, but no. I think closing thoughts. The coolest thing is that he knows kung fu.
He seriously knows kung fu.
Yo, we got some stories for y'all on a couple of different episodes, but that's really cool. But then I would say a final thought is something that you said. Well, you didn't say it like this, but like, man, Sunship don't have no back door. Like, you don't get into this joint looking for, you know what I mean? If you come in honorably, you got to leave honorably.
Look what Matt said. Well, you got to keep going. I just posted. He said, "Now I'm bald."
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, man, like you gotta understand, like you can't get into this joint looking for a quick out, because if you look for a quick out, then you might not really be a son.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So that's it. We appreciate you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, man.
No, this is gonna be awesome. This was y'all thought. It was your idea, and I can't wait for you guys to take it, be more creative, take it to the moon. It's gonna be really, really awesome. I just saw this last thing. Accountability. That's the last thing I want to say is be consistent in your accountability, right? When Elijah throws that mantle on Elisha, he leaves. He says, "Hey, I'm gonna go live my life. I'm gonna go do what God called me to do, what I've been doing." It's your responsibility to keep up. And I want to make sure that every son understands that it's your responsibility, whether it's in a ministry, whether it's in the back office, or whether it's overseas, long distance. It's your responsibility to keep up, stay connected, stay accountable, continue to text your pastor, ask them how they're doing, give them, if they don't know how you're doing because they haven't been able to check in with you, just send them a text message saying, "This is happening in my life, this is happening in my life, this is happening in my life. I just wanted to update you." But never take the distance, never take the lack of response or communication personally. Don't internalize it, just stay accountable. Accountability is one. It's not the only, but it's one of the things that continues to strengthen that thread, that connection, that soul tie, that covenant, so that impartation can flow freely. All right. And with that, we appreciate y'all. It is late. Dang, man. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. I'm tired. All right. But I appreciate y'all. Happy birthday to Jeff.
Beam.
Jeff said sow a seed. I was about to say sow a seed into him because it's his birthday, but you can send it to me. Send it to me and I'll send it to him.
Real man, sow a seed into Apostle, man. He's thorough. And if you sleep, wake up.
Wake up.
Happy birthday, Jeff. Let's go ahead and tell him happy birthday. We appreciate you. We love you. It's not every day that you 34.
34 is ridiculous. That is actually that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. That's crazy.
Is 34 old to you?
I'm 29 and 9.
29. Well, he's almost there.
Yeah,
he's almost there. He ain't even 30 yet.
Yeah.
All right. All right. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. I can't wait to continue the conversation. Until next time, this has been For Sons Only. I'll see you guys on the other side. Just throw the camera to them. They look better going off.